Thank you and good afternoon, everyone. So I'm going to talk about safety communications and how patients review these documents. So this is another type of documents that patients are involved in the review, and maybe I can say that maybe are the trickiest one, as the timelines for review are much shorter than for all the other documents. So let me start by saying what we mean by safety communications. So this will be new, important information on a medicine that is already authorized. And example will be when, for example, we communicate on the suspension of a medicine or a withdrawal from the market of a medicine for safety reasons. Or, for example, when there are restrictions on the use of a medicine, or there are particular precautions that need to be taken by patients. Or, for example, when we have a manufacturing problem that leads to some product defects and for example, some batches of a medicine needs to be recalled from the market. So this is all very important information for patients, and so we definitely need to communicate in all of those cases. Usually this type of communication, so what are the objectives of our communication? So what do we consider good information? So good information will be information that comes at the right time, so that is timely, and that is evidence-based, and will help patients to make appropriate decisions on the use of their medicines. So will help changing healthcare practices when this is needed. And also will, for example, help establish measures to minimize the risks that are associated with each medicine. And finally, so will help patients make informed decisions about the use of medicines. When do we communicate? So in the majority of cases, we will have a safety communication that is related to a referral procedure. So what is a referral? So when there is a safety issue, usually there is this procedure that is called referral is triggered, that is used to resolve the concerns of the safety of one medicine or a group of medicines, and the European Medicine Agency is asked to make a scientific assessment of the issue on behalf of the European Union, so that the conclusion will apply to all patients in Europe in the same way. We do communicate also outside the referrals, so not all safety communication will be in relation of this procedure, but this is usually now the way safety issues are handled. For this type of procedure, there are there is a specific process that has to be followed, and in line with the increasing transparency of the agency, we now, for example, communicate on referrals at the beginning of the referral. So when the issue comes up, we will already tell the public that there is an issue and the agency is going to look at it. And this, for example, is in line with the publication of agendas of committee meetings. So you will look, you can look at the agenda, you can see the topics that are actually going to be discussed. And so when the referral is started, we'll also communicate this in a simple document, which is to inform you that the referral is started. So in a referral procedure, so usually from the start, then the first committee that is going to look at the issue is the prague, that is the Pharmacovigilance Risk Assessment Committee, which has been established, is the latest one that has been established at the agency, that looks in particular at safety of medicine. This committee will give a set of recommendations, so if they think that the medicine actually can still be used, but with particular restrictions, or actually should be suspended, this recommendation will go then further to the CHMP, which is the committee that deals with the human medicines, and for example is the one that is involved in the authorization of medicine. Or it will go, for example, to the CMDH, but this is when the referral only involves nationally authorized products, which are those ones, the microphone is a bit wobbly, sorry. So they are the ones that are authorized not through the European Medicine Agency. And the CMDH is a body that represents member states. So let me show you an example of what we communicated at the start. So this is are very short documents in a lay language that are to explain why the review is started. And these documents are also published with, for example, the timetable, which will give you an idea how long the review is expected to take, and also the questions that are posed to the companies regarding the safety issue. And in some referral procedure, actually all stakeholders are invited to submit data which could be relevant to the referral procedure. So this is the document we have published in the case of the oral contraceptives. So as you see, it's very short, it's half a page. We just simply say that the agency has started its review, why the review was started. So in this case, the review was triggered by France because of concern of the risk of blood clots, and that the agency will now review all the available data on this risk and give its recommendations. So if you go then the next step, the Prague will do its review, and the Prague recommendation will be also published in a document that we call Summary of Prague Recommendations. And in this document, what is important is also to make clear what the recommendations are, but also that the process is still ongoing, so that this recommendation will actually then be sent to another committee, which will have the final position on the use of the medicine. So the procedure is still ongoing, and therefore there are not specific recommendations, detailed recommendations for patients or healthcare professionals, which will come at the end of the referral. So if you keep the example of the oral contraceptives, this is the document that was published at time of the Prague, where we say that the Prague confirms that the benefit of oral contraceptives outweigh the risk, but that women should be informed of the risk of blood clots and alert for the signs and symptoms. And if you can see at the bottom, we also say that this recommendation will now be forwarded to the CHMP that is expected to adopt an opinion in November, which it did. And the referral in this case, for example, went to the CHMP because some of the oral contraceptives were centrally authorized. So the referral in this case go to the CHMP. So at the end of the referral, we have a document which we call public health communication. And this is a more extensive document, which is made of 3 sections. So the first part is a more highlight, a summary of the issue, which is directed to the general public as well as the press, to let them know what the conclusions are. And then we try to have a more targeted information, and we have a specific section for patients who are using the specific medicine to let them know what they are supposed to do, what happened, and what are the actions. And in the same way, there is a section targeted to healthcare professional, which we have, of course, a different language, and which we also try to include also data that have been relevant data that have been looked at. So this is the same case of the oral contraceptives. So as you can see, so the first part of the document is the kind of press release type, where we also say the HMP was in agreement with the previous recommendation of the Prague. And then we have a section called information to patients, where we try to speak directly to them and let them know, for example, we say, if you have been taking CHCs without any problems, there is no reason for you to stop taking them on the basis of this review. We also tell them you should be aware of the factors that increase your risk, and that you should be alert for the sign and symptom of blood clots. And then in a similar way, we have information to healthcare professionals that they need to review the risk of women and take these risk factors into account when they prescribe the medicine. So how do we prepare the safety communication? So the basis of the communication is, in the same way as we do for IPA summary, is the assessment report of the relevant committee. Then the document is drafted and goes through several stages of review with involvement of many internal and external experts, including patients, consumer, and healthcare professionals. So what is the aim of the review by patient and consumers? So we want you to tell us whether the message is clear and comprehensible, and in particular we would like you to focus in these two main points. So is it clear why we are recommending, for example, suspension of this medicine, or we are not recommending suspension in a particular case? So, and then also, is it clear and relevant to you, the advice that is directed to patients? Of course, let me remind you that this is very sensitive information because you are involved in the review while the review is ongoing. So the information is still also confidential, and you should therefore keep it confidential. And the documents are working documents, so you review while also other experts are reviewing the documents. And at the end, the document that we publish might differ from the one you have actually reviewed. So this is, again, just an example on the same document, which actually was very well received. So we have positive feedback from patients that said that the document was clear. And this was, anyway, one comment we received, because and the review allowed a quantification of the risk, depending on the type of contraceptive. But there was, for a class of contraceptives that they are the newest one to be authorized, we say that the available data were insufficient to know how the risk compares with other contraceptives. So the comment, and it was very fair, said, so what are you going to do about it? So what we expanded the text to say, but other studies are ongoing or planned. And this comes the tricky part, so the timeline. So as I said, the referral usually procedure will follow the committee meetings, and we will know at which committee committee meeting we expect a referral to be finalized. So usually at the week before we start preparing for it. So this is the part in blue, and the part in red is the week of the committee meeting. So the week before, we usually will have a meeting internally to kind of try to predict what the outcome of the referral will be and start drafting the document. And it's also during this week that we'll try to contact experts from patients and consumer to ask for their availability to review the document the following week. The discussion of issues that usually require communication is done usually on the Monday or the Tuesday of the committee meeting. So we will listen into the discussion and we'll update the document on the basis of the discussion, if the committee to kind of reflect this in the document. And then we will start the review process, which the document will first go internally to the product team, which is the person at the agency that follows the specific product. We'll go to the rapporteurs, which are the committee members which lead the assessment of, in this case, of the product, and also to patient and healthcare professionals. So, this is very bad. Yeah. Sorry. So, so you should expect to receive the document usually around Tuesday afternoon, Wednesday, for your very quick review. We are aware of this, but unfortunately there is not much we can do. So then on Wednesday afternoon or Thursday, we will present the document to the whole committee for adoption and for their agreement. And then also we will send it for information to the company. On Thursday afternoon, we also send the final version to the member states so that they can prepare for the publication the next day and any questions they might receive, or if they want to prepare their own communication and translations. And the document will finally be published on the Friday at noon. So all documents that will be published on the agency website, and usually on the day that they are published, they will appear on the front page of the agency. And we also send them actively out to press mailing list, and we ask you, patient representative, to disseminate these documents through your members. So to conclude, I have to say that I think safety communication are probably the most challenging documents we write. First of all, because there is a very short time to prepare them. Sometimes we are unable to predict what the outcome will be long in advance. And we take into account many different stakeholders during the process. The agency is trying more and more to prepare information that is tailored to the different stakeholders. So we now have a specific section, for example, directly to patient. We are trying to expand it, and the same for healthcare professional with more background data. And we definitely think that, of course, your views are very important to meet the objectives which I've described at the beginning. So thank you very much. If you have any question, maybe.
Thank you, Federica. Again, I would like to move to Nathalie first before discussing.
So again, the overview so far. So next slide. So safety communications are slightly newer. We have been sending out, well, systematically, I think since 2010. So I have some comparison for you. On the next slide, so here you can see it's been going up as the years go on, and this year quite an extensive collaboration in terms of reviews of the safety communications. So a big thanks for all your help.
That was short. Thank you very much.